Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. Today, I want to show you a brand new tool that I've came up with for CRAW, or cubic right angle weave. I know some of you are already rolling your eyes like, oh my goodness, but no, please don't turn off the video because I'm going to show you a tool that's going to make your life easier. So if you've tried CRAW and you can't really get it or you don't understand it, I'm hoping that this tool will revolutionize the way that you think about CRAW. Basically, this tool is going to give you something to hold on to as you work your CRAW. So first, I want to thank my dad, Michael Dalton, because he's the one who, when I started talking to him about this tool, and what we could do, he's the one who helped me come up with the actual structure of this tool. I also wanted to thank my friends Betsy Toll, Vera Monzita, and Sandy McCraw because they tested these tools for me and gave me little tips and tweaks that we could do with the tool to make it a little bit better for you guys. So basically, this tool is really cool because you're going to be able to start CRAW with size 11s, 8s, and 6 seed beads, as well as 2mm, 3mm, and 4mm fire polished beads. So that's 6 different size beads you're going to be able to do CRAW off of this tool. Now there's already some other great tools on the market for CRAW, which is prismatic right angle weave. And Diane Whiting has invented a really cool starter strip for that. Now my friend Jill Wiseman already has a video on her YouTube page that she did back in February of 2018 showing Diane's tool and how to do CRAW. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out her video. But my video today is going to be specifically for CRAW, or again, cubic right angle weave. So first, I want to start to talk to you about CRAW. CRAW itself, that's what we're going to start with. Now, Marcia DeCoster is the master to me of CRAW. Like, she is the one who explains it the best, and it just helps you understand it. So with CRAW, we're going to make a floor, we're going to make 4 walls, and then we're going to make a top or a ceiling, okay? So that's what you're going to think about as we start to build the CRAW. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you CRAW without my tool. So how to do basic cubic right angle weave. Then I'm going to show you CRAW with my tool to show you the difference in the two. So at the end of this video, I'll give you information on how to purchase the tool and what all actually will come with the tool if you decide to purchase. So I'm going to start today with size 8 seed beads. I'm going to show you regular CRAW with these beads, and then I'm going to show you those same beads again, like I said, on my tool. When you start CRAW, you are going to have to add thread, unless you're doing like just a small structural piece. For if you want to do a necklace, you're going to have to add thread several times. So you're going to start out with a length of thread that is most comfortable for you. For me personally, that's 2.5 to 3 yards. But say if you're only comfortable with a yard or 2 yards, then just cut that amount, okay? If you try to do enough to do the whole project, you're going to cut 15 yards and you're going to have a just big hot mess disaster, and don't nobody want that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my needle and thread together, and then we'll get started. So to start out, we are going to pick up 4 beads. I'm going to hold these 4 beads and pull my thread. I want to leave myself about a 6 to 8 inch tail so that I can go back and add the clasp at the end. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go up through all 4 of these size 8 seed beads again. I'm going to hold those beads in my hand as I pull this thread, and then I'm going to take my 2 threads and I'm going to pull them in the same direction. And now I'm going to take these 2 threads and I'm going to tie these into some knots. Okay, so I'm just going to use my hand to hold this thread out of the way, and now I have the floor to my cubic right angle weave. if I come to the bead to the right of my knot, I'm going to be working in a counterclockwise position. This is going to be really good for lefties or left-handers. If you go through the bead to the left, this is going to be working in a clockwise position, and this is going to be good for people who are right-handed. So I'm going to go through the bead here to my left, and that bead, you can see here, I'm going from right to left through that bead. I'm going to pull this through. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to build the walls. So our first wall, we are going to put on 2 side beads and a top bead. So my thread is coming out of the bottom here of my bead. So I'm just going to take my needle, I'm going to come right back through that same bead again to make a circle. So if it's laid out flat, this is what you'll have. If you kind of make it lay up like this, you'll see that this is my first wall of my cube. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the next floor bead here on this base circle. So here's the bead that I was coming out of right here. And I'm just going to take my needle and come through that very next bead. I'm going to pick up 2 beads. I'm making the second wall, so you can see here, if I pull this tight and hold this up, you can see here that I'm going to need a side bead and a top bead. So that's why I'm only picking up 2. So if I lay this out kind of flat here, I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go through the side bead of my previous wall, which is this one here, and then through the floor bead that I'm coming out of. So if it's laid out flat, I'm going straight through these 2 beads here, and I'm going to pull this through. Okay, and if we hold them up, this is what you have right now. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come through the next floor bead. Again, this is our third wall, so we have to have a side bead and a top bead. So I'm picking up 2 beads. If I lay these out flat here, like I did with this side, I'm going to come through the side bead from wall 2 and then the floor bead that I am exiting, which is going to be this bead here. So now you can see that we have 3 walls. We have wall 1, wall 2, and wall 3. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the last floor bead. So if I look at the bottom, you can see here I've got to go through 1 more floor bead. So I'm going to go through that bead right there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this through. This will be right where my knot was. So now we've got to go up through the side bead from wall 1. So this is, if you hold it just like this and you look at it, you see that you've got 1, 2, 3 beads. So we still need this 4th bead up here. So I'm going to go through this side bead from wall 1, which is going to be the bead on my left. I'm going to pick up 1 bead and I'm going to go down through the side bead from wall 3 and then my floor bead. So again, if they're laid out flat like this, I'm just going to take my needle and I'm going to come through my beads just like this. And I'm going to pull this through. Now to me, this still looks like a jumbled mess, and it's going to feel that way to you as well, especially if you've never done this. So to get to the top, I'm going to go up through that side bead from wall 1, which is going to be the bead right above where my thread is exiting. And now if you look on top here, you have 4 beads on top that now will make up your ceiling. This ceiling now becomes your floor bead. So you can leave these like they are, no problem, or if you're a beginner, I suggest you go through these 4 beads here on the top again, just because it's going to pull them together and you're going to see them a little bit better. So just going through those 4 beads again, so that now when you look at it, you have a perfect cube of beads. All right, so here we go. Again, we have 4 beads here on our, what we call our floor. So I'm going to pick up 3 beads for wall 1, and I'm going to come right back through the same bead that I'm coming out of to make that circle. You can see it's kind of hard to hold on to because it's so small here. Now I'm going to come through the next floor bead, which is going to be the very next bead in my box. I'm going to pick up 2 beads because I'm on wall 2. So wall 2 and wall 3 are 2 beads. I'm going to come down through the side bead from wall 1 and then through the floor bead I'm coming out of. So if they're laid straight like this, you can see I'm going straight through those 2 beads. I'm going to pull this on through. And I'm going to come through the next floor bead, which is going to be the very next bead in that box of 4 there that I've got, what I call my anchor box. Then I'm on wall 3, which is a side bead and a top bead, so I'm picking up 2 beads. If I lay these beads out flat like this, I'm going to go through the side bead from wall 2 and then straight through the floor bead that I'm coming out of right this second. Pull this on through. And now I'm to wall 4. So I'm going to go through the floor bead and the side bead from wall 1, which is going to be that bead there on my left. I'm going to pick up 1 bead and I'm going to come across and I'm going to go down through the side bead from wall 3 and my floor bead. You can do those one at a time or both, just like I did. So I'm going to go up through the side bead from wall 1, which is going to be the bead right above where my thread is exiting. And now I'm going to go through all 4 beads again here on the top. The cool thing is with this cubic right angle weave, if you always want to work in the same position, just continue in the same direction as you the step up where I'm coming up through these 4 beads. So here was my bead that I came up through. If I wanted to work in my clockwise position, I'm going to go through that bead to the left. If I wanted to work in counterclockwise, I would always just go to this bead to the right, just like we did here on that very first circle that we made. Okay, so I'm going to explain this to you one more time using the regular CRAW to hold on to. So again, our first wall is 3. I'm going to come back through the bead, the floor bead I'm coming out of to make my circle. And then I'm going to go through the next floor bead. I'm going to pick up 2 beads. If I laid this out flat, which I just dropped those 2, if I laid this out flat, I'm going to go through the side bead from wall 1 and the floor bead that I'm coming out of. So this is our wall 2. And now I'm going to go through the next floor bead to start wall 3. Wall 3 is 2 beads. So if I laid these out flat here, you can see I'm going to go through the side bead from wall 2 and the floor bead. I'm on wall 4, so I'm going to come up through, I'm going to go through the floor bead and then up through the side bead from wall 1, which is going to be that bead on my left. Pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to go through the side bead from wall 3 and through the floor bead I was just coming out of. Alrighty. So now I'm going to go right up through the bead right above where my thread's coming out. It's going to be the side bead from wall 1. And now you can see I have my new floor and I can go through all 4 of those beads again. So I have 1, 2, 3 boxes of cubic right angle weave. So this is how you do it with no tool, just regular beads. Now I'm going to show you with my new tool. So one of the first things that I wanted to show you that my friend Sandy figured out was she really likes this Nozu Sunoco and she wanted to give it a try. So we tried this Nozu and it works really, really well for cubic right angle weave because it seems to hold the thread a little bit better. Plus, if you're going to make a bangle or such, this is going to help you to be able to make it to the size that you want and not have to make it any bigger for a bangle size. So this is the tool that I was telling you guys about. This first batch that me and Dad kind of played with was we put holes here in the top and the bottom because I was going to put one size bead here on the bottom and one size on the top. But I found that this size bead here is going to do 6 different sizes of beads, so there was no real need for a different size on the bottom. So I wanted to show you the difference. So here is the tool with starting size 11 seed beads. Okay, here is the tool starting size 6 seed beads. So you can see it's rather large. All right, then we have some with a 3mm fire polish bead off of this base, and then I've got some with a 4mm fire polish bead all off of this base. And then today I'm going to be showing you the size 8 seed beads. So the first thing you're going to want to do is thread on a stop bead. Now this needs to be a size 8 seed bead or larger, so that way it does not go through the hole of your tool. If you use a size 11 seed bead, more than likely it's going to go through the hole of the tool and it's going to be all for naught. Alright, so you can see here on the top of the tool that you have holes all the way around. That is because you can stick the needle through any one of these holes. It does not matter. So I'm just going to pick one of these holes and I'm going to stick the needle straight through. Pull that through so you can see that it's stopped. But now the cool thing is I'm just going to take and I'm going to hold the tail onto that tool so that it's out of the way. So now if I look at the hole here in the tool, right above that is my beads that I have on this base. This is going to be my floor beads. And it's just like this would have been our first couple of steps in regular cubic. We would make our 4 beads, tie them into a circle, blah, blah, blah. So now I already have this floor and I'm going to take my needle and like I said, if I want to work clockwise, I'm going to go through that bead from right to left. If I'm going to go counterclockwise, I'm going to go through that bead from left to right. So I'm going to pull through the bead and now I'm ready to start CRAW. So I'm going to pick up 3 size 8 seed beads. I'm going to come right back through this same bead I'm coming out of to make a circle. Okay. And then I'm going to come next through the very next bead here on the floor. I'm going to do wall 2, so that's 2 beads. So I'm going to come straight through the side bead from wall 1 and then the floor bead that my thread is coming out of. Go through your next floor bead. Pick up 2 beads for wall 3. I'm going to come through the side bead of wall 2 and then the floor bead. Now I'm going to come through the floor bead and then up through the side bead from wall 1, which is going to be the bead here on my left. Pull this on through. Okay, so we're ready for the 4th wall, so that's 1 bead. I'm going to come down through the side bead of wall 3 over here and my floor bead, just like I did when I started regular cubic right angle weave. So now you can see on the top I've got my 4 beads again that's going to become my floor. So I'm going to go up through the side bead from wall 1 and then through these 4 beads again. And again, just to reiterate, if I want to work in that clockwise position, I'm going to go through the bead to the left. If I want to work in the counterclock position, I would go through the bead to the right once I came up through that side bead. Okay, so now I have my 4 beads. So I'm ready for wall 1. So again, wall 1, one last time, was 3 beads. I'm going to come back through my bead here to make a circle, and then go through the next floor bead. 2 beads. I'm going to come through the side bead from wall 1 and the floor bead that I'm coming out of to make my circle. And then I'm going to go through the next floor bead. Now if I want those to sit up, I can just set those up just like that. If you want them to lay flat, that's no problem either. Just lay them back out flat so you can see. So I'm going through the side bead from wall 2 and my floor bead. So this is my wall 3. Okay, now you can see I've got my floor bead and my side bead from wall 1. And then I pick up 1 bead, go down through the side bead from wall 3, and then my floor bead. I'm going to go up through side bead from wall 1, that's the bead right above where my thread is exiting. Then I'm going to go through all 4 of these beads again. And again, you do not have to do this. This is just something that if you're a beginner or you've never really picked up on CRAW, this is a really good thing to do because it pulls those 4 beads together for you so that you can see them a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working on my CRAW till I have enough to hang on to, and then I'm going to show you how to take your beadwork off of the tool. So at this point you can see that I have a good bit done, and I got to this point because I wanted to be almost out of thread to show you, number 1, how to get rid of, how to end and start thread on your piece. And then I also wanted to show you how to take it off of the tool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stop bead off. So I'm just going to grab a hold of that stop bead and pull. You can use a tulip awl for this. You can use your needle. These little needles right here work great. We actually sell these on our website. These are tulip actual needles. They don't have a hole in them, but they're great for picking out knots, or specifically they're great for this tool as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the tail out of the holes, and then I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit so that you can see. So this is my first circle, and I know that I went through this bead from left or from right to left. So I'm just going to stick my needle in there and grab a hold of that thread. And then I'm just going to just grab a hold of the threads here that I started with, and you can take it, like once it starts getting loose, you can take it and do like this and really see your threads and where they were coming out at. Now if you've pierced your thread or something of that nature, man, this is black, I can't hardly see it. Ugh. If you've pierced your thread or something, it makes this a little bit harder to do. But, yep, because see, I've pierced that one, so you can kind of see there where I pierced it. But now I can take it and I can really see where my threads are. And I'm just going to pick out those beads until it pulls right off. So now I have my tool, and then I have my first little box here of my cubic right angle weave. So now you can see that I've got my cubic and I can just keep going on with it. So let me show you. So this one is with my size 6 seed beads, and I'm so used to this tool that I don't even use a stop bead. You can see here I just hold on to the thread as I'm getting started and don't even worry about it. So again, I know that I've kind of went through this bead here, so I'm just going to start picking out my thread on this first box. And then I can do like this. You can see it loosening up so that now I see every single thread, and I can just pull those threads and it came right off. So this was my 6s. All right, here's one with my 3mm. Again, pull it right off, and then just start pulling the threads of that first box. Once you get those threads, just do like this, and you can see how much it's pulled apart now, and I can just use my little picker and I can pick those beads right apart, just like this. Okay, and then I'll show you one more here. This is with my 4s. Again, just pick your thread out of that hole. Grab a hold of that thread in your very first box, and then do this number. You can see that my beads have pulled off, so now, or my threads are pulled up, so now all I have to do is take and pull, and now I have my box. So now that I have my piece off of the tool, I'm ready to get rid of one thread and start a new thread. So I don't like to put any knots into this because you're gonna see anywhere that you put a knot. If you want to put a knot, then how you would actually tie off the thread is you will go under the thread between 2 of your beads, leave yourself a little loop, and then stick your needle through the loop and pull, okay? And you would put several of these into your piece. Me, what I like to do is I like to stitch through and just get rid of this thread. So I'll follow my thread path. I might follow a box, like a full box here. But then I will just start working my way down and getting rid of as much of this thread as I can. It's one of those things, it doesn't matter which bead you go through as long as you don't see the thread across any of your beads. And it's really important too to consider the color thread that you're going to use for your piece, because the color thread really changes the look of your piece. So with my black thread here, it blends in really well with my beadwork. But now if I would have used, say, white thread or a fire line or something of that nature, it really would not have looked as I wanted it. So now I will snip that off. And then I'm going to cut my thread and put it on my needle. So just like I got rid of my thread, now I'm going to add the thread in the same way. So I'm going to come down about 1.5 to 2 inches from the top, and I'm just going to pick a random bead. I'm going to go through that bead, and then I'm going to leave myself a little bit of a tail that I can hang on to. And now I'm just going to start working my way back to the very top. So the first one I do, I'm going to go ahead and just go through this box, this whole little box here, to kind of what I call lock it in place. And if I wanted to actually make a knot, because I know some of you like that, I would go again under the thread between 2 of my beads here, side by side, leave myself a little loop, stick the needle through the loop, and then pull, making sure that that knot goes in between the 2 beads that I went under their thread. I'm going to get back up to the top now, almost there, and then at that point you can just continue to stitch just like you normally have. So now I am back up to the very top. I'm going to go through one of my beads here, and now I'm just going to continue to stitch until I have enough that I'm happy with, and I'll go ahead and take this short tail thread and I can get rid of that tail thread and just keep going on my project. Now I'm going to keep going till I get it to a bracelet size that I want, so I can show you how you would actually connect the ends of this together. And then I want to show you how that you would put the ends on a different way if you wanted to add a clasp. So at this point, I have my piece the length that I want it to put it into a bangle. I want to start with the bead that I'm coming out of. So I'm going to pull out my piece and make sure that it's all even, and I'm going to fold it together just like this. Now I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit so that you can see a little bit better. I'm going to pick up one bead. I'm coming out to the right here of this bottom bead. Now I'm going to come to the bottom bead, because when these are connected, those will be connected together. So I'm going to come across it. I'm going to come through the bottom bead on this side, going from right to left. Then I'm going to come through the bead that I started with from left to right. So what happens is that's going to connect those two beads. Good grief, I'm getting everything caught here. There we go. So as you can see, that's going to connect those two beads. Now I'm going to come up to the next bead on the little floor here. Pulling this tight. Now at this point, I'm going, since I have those connected, I'm going to hold it more like this so that I can see the connection. So I'm coming out, if I hold it this direction, you can see that I'm coming up out of this bead here on that side. So you can see, I'm going to close it back together. Okay, so if I hold it like this, I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to come down through the same side bead that's on this side over here. Okay, and I'm going to pull that. Okay, so you can see now that the bead I added on the bottom and the bead I added here make up this side box. So I'm going to come through those two beads again. So it's the side bead here, and then the one I was just coming out of on the floor, and then through the next bead here on that base of 4 that I had started with. So now I have this bead, I have this bead here, and then I have this bead. So I have 3 beads to this box. So now I'm going to pick up one more bead. I'm coming out to the left here, so I'm going to come to the bead right across from it. See, there's nothing here. I'm going to come to that bead, and I'm going to go through that bead from left to right. Okay, so now this box is connected, the sides are connected, the bottom's connected, and now I have 4 beads here for this side. See, you can see them moving there, but they're just not fully connected. So all I have to do at this point is I'm going to stitch down through my beads so that now I can see these 4 beads here in this little circle, and I'm going to go through those beads again. The 4 beads in that circle. So now you can't see where besides the thread there, you cannot see where I stopped and where I ended on the cubic. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to reinforce this last box, and if I kind of pull it back like this, you can see where it's coming apart there, where it's loosening up, where I pulled that, so that you can see that I've just basically, just connected them with cubic, just finished out what I needed. So I would go ahead and I would reinforce this really, really well, and then you can tie it off, whatever you need to do, and then you would have a fun and easy bangle. Now, if you want to actually put a clasp on it instead of making it a bangle, I have just done some length on this, and I have taken my thread and got rid of it here on this other end, and you can see here I'm going to take it off just just like, there we go. And you can see that, you know, a few beads fall off. Well, you're gonna lose just a few of these beads because these are the beads that connect from here to here. But you now have that box that you're good to go with. So we're just gonna put our needle onto this end. And I'm coming out of this bead right here. So I'm going to zoom in again so that you can see better. Okay. Now I'm going to use a size 8 seed bead here. These are 11s. You can see the difference in the sizing. So these are 11s. I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to pick up an 8 and I'm going to come across to this bead and I'm going to go through that bead. So what's going to happen is my new 8 is going to sit right there on top of this last box. Now I'm going to come back through the 8 again and then back through the bead that I started with so that it anchors this bead along these two 11s. You want to go through this bead several times. And you have several options. At this point, you can add a clasp using a jump ring that will go through this size 8 seed bead. Another option is to do what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to use some size 15 seed beads here. And I'm going to put on, let's say, I'm going to do 3. Then part of my clasp. And 3 more of these 15s. My thread is coming out of my 8, so I'm going to come right back through that 8 to make a circle. Okay, sorry about that. The phone was ringing here. Okay, so when I go through that bead now, you can see that it has attached my clasp to that size 8 seed bead. So at this point, I can go back through it and I can reinforce these beads again. So I'm going to go through all 6 of that, or however many, my clasp, and then any seed beads that are left, and then back through that size 8 seed bead again to reinforce. Now I would reinforce this several times and then tie off this thread, and then once you get the length, you would add the clasp on the other end exactly like I did this one. So I wanted to show you some samples of finished cubic right angle weave. So this is the reflecting pool pendant that I made last week, and this is a cubic right angle weave necklace that I made to go with this pendant. And you can see that I finished it off exactly like how I showed you today on one side. Actually I did it on both sides here with the little loops of 15s on the 8s. This is the metallic Polaris and the seed bead on this one. And those are size 11s. This is a project that I taught at my bead retreat in August, and I'll be teaching again in April. This is using the nickel seed beads. Again, these are size 11s. Now on this one, I have actually used the jump ring inside of that size 8 seed bead so that you could see, you know, how that is accomplished. And then I've got one more here. This is another one that I taught in August at my retreat, and then I'm teaching again at my April retreat. And same thing, I've just used some larger jump rings here to kind of give it a little bit more presence. But you can see the jump ring, and this one is actually in a size 6 seed bead here. And you can see that the colored thread you use really does affect your piece. So like I used the white here, then I used a dark here because I want it really dark to go with my stuff. And then I have used purple. I used my purple thread with this Polaris seed bead. So these are just some examples of finished cubic right angle weave rope. So thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you've been able to grasp cubic right angle weave and really understand how to do it now. One thing that you do need to know about the tool is if you purchase the tool is going to come with a 5-page printed pattern on how to do cubic right angle weave or crawl step by step from start to finish, exactly like I showed you in the beginning. You're also going to get another 3-page printed pattern that's going to show you how to start cubic on the tool and then how to take your beadwork off of the tool when you're ready for it to come off. So all of that will be in a sweet little package together. Now, I have about 14 of these little tulip pins left that you've seen in my video today. So if you order a kit today, which is September 13th of 2018, I'm going to pick 14 random kits and throw one of these bad boys in your kit. So if you get one of these, congratulations, because you grabbed one from my stock. Now, we do sell these on our website, which is offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, and I believe they're under the needles section of our website. They're pretty cool. They come in really handy. They're almost like an awl to me. They're that nice and stiff. Also, please note that if you order your kit today, which is September 13th, or tomorrow, which is September 14th, yours will go out in the mail before we close on vacation, which is going to be September 16th through the 21st. Now, there will be no one here, so any orders placed during that week will be delayed. So just know if you place your order on the 13th or the 14th of September, it will go out to you before we leave. Otherwise, it's going to be start shipping again on the 22nd. So get those orders in the 13th or the 14th so you guys can get your tools and start to play with this really, really cool new piece. Now, if you love this tool and you do some cubic right angle weaves, be sure to tag me in your post, hashtag #OffTheBeadedPathBeadStore, so that way I can see what you've been creating. So again, thank you so much for watching, and please understand that any kits, products, or tools talked about in this video are sold on a temporary basis. And please understand that any promotion or sale that I may have talked about in this video is date specific and may not be available at the time that you watch this video. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!